Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. It's Birds of a Feather podcast with your boy Q City. It's a solo one tonight. Taj ain't gonna be able to join us, but he will be on later this week as we talk about the game in totality. So I'm gonna get into it, share some thoughts with y'all. This might only be around 5 to 10, just to make sure that we keep it going, keep it live. So first things first, 20-10 loss versus San Francisco 49ers. Moves us down to 3-3, moves them to 5-2. Um, I don't know. Watching this game, I don't feel like they're the class of the NFC, right? I still, I still tonight think that we played a pretty live defensive game. So first things first, got an interception, right? Got a turnover by Caden Ellis. Um, for the most part, we definitely stopped the pass game. Now when it comes to the ground game, I know McCaffrey had a huge day. Let's look at some more of these player stats real quick. Because it felt like McCaffrey had a huge day, and it felt like Robinson Jr. had a decent day. 9 for 36. That's a 4 average. Um, but Christian McCaffrey touched the ball 31 times. And out of Mac Jones' 17 completions, McCaffrey was seven of them. He had almost 200 yards of total offense. To be honest with you, he had the game that I think most of us thought Bijan was going to have, right? So Bijan had, what is this, 92 yards of total offense. Broke his 100-yard streak, which is like, that used to be an auto cash. Not gonna lie to you, Christian McCaffrey he had a godlike day, very similar to what we had versus the Bills last week. We overpowered them offensively because of that day, and it was pretty much the same here. They their defense isn't all that. It isn't all that. Penix had 241 yards. When you look at it, I think he left a lot on the table, a lot to be desired. Looks like he got rolled up on late. I was absolutely confused as to how some of those weren't roughing the passers late. 48, the dude who's in there for Fred Warner, a couple of them were super late to me, but kind of bouncing all over the place. These are just thoughts like right at the tip of the game. My main thing is just the offense being so discombobulated for a good bit of the day. Yeah, he had 241, right? He missed 17 passes. Could have had a pick on fourth down. That was really the game, to be honest with you. Our run game really didn't get going the way it needed to for the day. Drake was featured pretty well. Casey Washington had 2 targets. One of them was a reception. Kyle Pitts really was the engine for the game for the most part when it came to the passing game. But our defense was on the field a lot, and that's the point I really wanted to get to. So when me and Taj initially talked about the game, right? And we were putting up scores. I think I had said 24-17 or 2017, and I think Taj had said 31. And I was just like, I don't think we're gonna have that many possessions. You watch the game, that's exactly where we fell into, right? We just didn't have enough possessions. And I think most of the team didn't have, like, most of the game, both teams didn't have a lot of possessions. They did not have a lot of time in which they possessed the ball for a long amount of time. The announcers talked about it. They were like, it's been a lightning quick first half. And it's like, yeah, I think it was 4 total possessions in the first. I think it was, I think it was 4 total possessions in the first half. Because you got a field goal, a touchdown, took it down to and then they had the fumble, right? They had the fumble and a field goal, which was kind of like a stealing of possession at the end. But the 49ers held a long possession at the beginning, punted. Falcons held a long possession, punted. Falcons got the ball. I don't think anybody had a quick possession. I don't think anybody had a 3 and out off the top of my head. Falcons get it. They kick a field goal. So here's the thing: the Falcons kicked field goal at 12:54. I think both teams possessed the ball in the second quarter, um, but then they get a touchdown and they get that field goal late. Coming out, they kick a field goal with 10:09 left in the third. We do score a touchdown with 6:28 left. That was the next possession, right? Like there was a good bit of time in between there. Then they had just that super long drive, playing keep away off the fourth down miss and whatnot. We were really in this game. It was 13-10 for a long time. I think when it became 13-3, there was a little worry, but scoring that touchdown really changed my mindset, changed my view on the game. Um, the defense is elite. The defense is elite. They were on the field for a crazy amount of time, but like they held their own. They held their own for the most part. Diablo going out, that hurt, especially against McCaffrey. He was a great matchup against McCaffrey, and I don't think it's any coincidence that McCaffrey had a super bomb day based on him not being there. They basically abandoned the zone run and just went wham, just went straight up the gut. I'm pretty sure when we'll look at the film, it'll say the same. So like not overly prepare for that, right? And usually because you have an athletic offensive line, you use that zone scheme, you use those wide run plays. They just went brute power, brute strength, and for the most part we held it, right? Because 24, I think he was 24 for 124. Um, which don't get me wrong, is a day. That's just 5 yards a carry. But watching the game, I felt like we had good push. You know what I'm saying? I think, when you dig into it, you go into like conversions and whatnot. I feel like we could not get them off the field on third down, but they had three punts. So like obviously we were doing something right. I think a good bit of it is just it was a true blue smash mouth football type of game. And they brought their lunch pail. They was ready to work. And for us, I feel like we were ready to work too on the defensive end. On the offensive end, it's quite clear that we got some things we got to get in line. Now, Penix to me, yet again, showed a lot of talent with his arm, right? His arm special. Bijan, showed a lot of wiggle, was able to get into the end zone. I think a more productive run game is absolutely needed. Uh, these tight games, right? So in basketball, it's pretty well known that like in the playoffs, the game slows down, right? A lot of things that work during the regular season don't necessarily work in the playoffs. In terms of like wide open and being able to get off the same type of stuff. In the NFL, it's quite the opposite, right? So like in the NFL, during the playoffs, it's really any given Sunday, right? And what has worked for you all season may continue to work for you. What hasn't worked all season may throw a wrench in your plans, right? So, like a couple years ago, San Fran threw the ball 8 times, right? And it's just because their run game was just on it. They got to the Super Bowl and had to air it out because they were playing a team that like that wasn't the best way to beat them. At Kansas City always was keeping the game close, making it muddy, winning it at the end. They get to the Super Bowl and they get completely blown out, right? So like the plan is to always do what you do well, but like any given Sunday things can happen, right? With that being the case, I feel like this game that we just had will repeat itself. And this is a game we got to learn to win. Um, there's going to be tight games. There's going to be games where it gets muddy. It's going to be one possession 90% of the time, and you need your defense to blow up. One of the clutch things, and I'm gonna go look because it showed up. I thought about it in game as it happened, and I was like, that might have been the dumbest defensive call I've seen from Ulbrich having a pretty good defensive play call for the whole game. On that 3rd and 14 that eventually led to the touchdown, McCaffrey was out wide and they were playing 8 yards off the ball. And then basically, and I'm not sure if it was a mental error, but it looked like the linebacker came down and you had 3 people on the tight end and McCaffrey wide open on a safety who he really just sat in his zone, caught the ball, and then laid down, right? Like is could have been just like a really good play call for on an offensive end, but as a defensive end, I was just like on the defensive end, I was like, God, we're playing off. We allow that conversion, and for lack of a better term, that was really the game. That was really the game. I didn't expect us to score twice after that, because then you get into the offside kick game. It's not a thing. Overly, I think the 49ers said Penix got to beat us today. And he showed that right now where he is, that's not his game. Because when people really say, oh, the quarterback got to beat us, they also made it to where you got to beat us and you got to be perfect on every drive. You got to be perfect on every single drive. The Falcons punted 3 times as well. Like, you punted 3 times, you had a touchdown, and you punted 3 times, you had a touchdown, you had a field goal, you didn't convert on 4th, right? And then you had a turnover on downs. There were 7 possessions. That's 7 possessions, right? That's incredibly, like, yeah, 2 turnovers on downs, 3 punts, a touchdown, yeah, and the what's it called, the end of half, so 8 possessions. Right, 8 possessions, and on the end of half one, that's a coaching gap. That's a coaching gap. It might have been a mental error on Penix, just like not getting outside the tackle box, but just like that's a 2 weeks in a row not being able to score before halftime, knowing that you don't get the ball out of half is bad. Is bad. There's no other way to look at it. They have a bunch of injuries on the back end, and the fact that we're not able to capitalize on those doesn't feel great, right? I definitely feel like we should be able to put our best foot forward offensively when we're facing somebody who's so down and out, so bad and out right now, right? Those are just kind of like my preliminary thoughts on the game. Next week we face a Dolphins team that might be with a new coach bump, so like we definitely got to be locked in on that one. Face the Patriots, and then we go to Germany. Shout out to my people in Germany. We've got German listeners on the pod. We've got a lot of listeners from other countries on the pod. Always, you guys, I appreciate y'all. Like, subscribe, drop in. Share your notes. I definitely speak on it on ATL, but I appreciate all the listens. Ty should be back for the pod on Tuesday. I appreciate you guys. It's been your boy Q City, and I'm out. Peace.